Hi, everybody. Welcome along to episode 58 of Percussion Discussion. Hope you're all well and happy out there. Please check out our social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our world-famous YouTube channel, of course, where you can check out all of our interviews. Please subscribe if you don't mind. This way you won't miss any of the amazing interviews that we've already done or any of the incredible ones that we have coming up, and we have quite a few of those as well. If you prefer to listen to our conversations on the go, then you can find all of our interviews in podcast form on Spotify Music and on Apple Podcasts too. So if that's your thing, download them, listen wherever you want to listen to them. Please leave a review as well, if you don't mind. It all helps keeps the wheels rolling. On to today's guests. Yes, I did say guests. Incredibly lucky to have two of the finest percussionists that you can find today. From the UK, representing the United Kingdom, we have the fabulous Lea Mullen, who's played for the likes of George Michael, the Happy Mondays, and so many more. So it's great to have Lea along, I should say. And also, we have one of the finest percussionists in the world. It's as simple as that. A man who's played for so many incredible artists. I think I would be here for the next 2 hours naming them all, but I'm going to give you two. James Taylor, Phil Collins. That's just two for now. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome Mr. Lea Mullen and Mr. Luis Conte.
We're great. Thank you, man. Thanks for inviting us, and it's a great chance to talk to you and talk to my brother Lea Mullen over there.
Absolutely. Of course, as always, when I got asked to do this, and of course asked maybe if Luis might be if interested, I thought if he is interested, now he knows I'm doing it, he certainly won't be after this.
Oh, anyway, no way. No way. No, glad to be here, man. Thank you.
Oh, hey, look, well, it's great, you know. And I suppose, I know you two are friends. The obvious place to start for me is, how did you guys meet? Because that's quite a big thing, isn't it? I guess, but for both of you.
Yeah. Well, Lea, you want to go for it?
Yeah. Well, I remember meeting Luis would be on the Phil Collins tour in Manchester.
97
in Manchester, when I had a few instruments for him, and I went up to the gate, and I was really nervous and excited at the same time for meeting one of the people that I'd loved and inspired watching over the years, with different people from Pat Metheny to Melissa Manchester to, well, everybody really, and I knew that he was coming to Manchester on tour, and I just, by hook or by crook, I really wanted to at least just get 5 minutes just to thank him for the inspiration and that he'd given me and inspired me to play. And this is where we are now, really. Wow. Unfortunately, yeah, it really is. It really is. It's like a drummer going to really wanted to meet Steve Gadd or Vinnie Colaiuta, and luckily, Luis being Luis was always went out of his way, and he's I'm not just saying it because he's here. He knows anyway. He's like family to me, and he remains an inspiration to me, not only as a musician but as a human being, and always will do.
Thanks, Lea. Well, same. I remember it. I remember that day well, man. I remember it real well when Munch was my drum tech came over. Hey, there's a guy out here wants to, he said he had a couple things for you and wants to meet you. And there you are.
And that wasn't that wasn't in the hotel, by the way. That was actually in the sound check.
Wow,
at the sound check. At the arena, right?
Yeah, so the arena.
The MEN as it is now.
These days.
Wow.
The arena.
Amazing.
So it really was one of those, when you're waiting outside just to, most people are probably waiting outside because of obviously Phil Collins, but I'm waiting outside to meet Luis Conte, And then of course I got to see the sound check, the line check, and what an amazing band. And of course the late amazing Ricky Lawson was playing drums.
Oh, yes.
You know, and what an opportunity to see Phil Collins play drums as well, and you know, on the soundtrack with Luis and Ricky Lawson. Can you imagine what that was like? It was just amazing, you know.
Yeah. Glad to have you there, man. It was really happy to have you there.
Wow. Yeah, oh no, it's amazing. It's amazing.
So that was 97, did you say? Yeah, so
that was 97.
So that's 24, 25 years almost, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a long time. And, you know, you've collaborated on things as well since then, haven't you? I think, Lee, were you talking about a clinic?
Yeah.
A clinic?
Yeah.
Well, this is what happened. I'll tell Luis what happened. I was lucky enough to get signed by Meinl after we'd met. And we had a guy called Andy Fox, who was an amazing guy. Yeah. Andy Fox, the general.
The general.
And he said to me, Luis Conte is coming over and doing a clinic tour in the UK. And he said, would you be interested in doing a few things with him? And I said, are you kidding? Really? Of course I'm, you know, really. If you don't do it, I'm leaving Meinl. You know, that's what I said.
Yeah, man.
You know, so
we went all over, right? We played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went all over the shows where nobody else would do clinics.
Yeah. And some incredible, some really exciting hotels once in a while.
Oh
yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
But we had a ball. We had such a great time. It was unforgettable.
It was amazing.
We should do it again.
It was amazing. It really was. And
you're obviously a great match personality-wise, and you can see you get on. Was that was obviously there from the beginning, but musically, were you a match as well? If you see what I mean, from a playing perspective, were you on the same kind of the similar style, similar? You know,
no way. A really funny thing was Andy Fox said to me. He said to me, "So he rang me up the day before he was going to pick Luis up at the airport, and he said." So what are you gonna do? And I said, I don't know. I said I might just tell jokes for 20 minutes. I'm not bothered. I'm just really happy to be here in the company of Luis and spend time with Luis. And then he said, well, you're gonna start up this. This is the best one. He said, I love Andy. He said to me, are you gonna do some Cuban stuff? And I went, what?
What?
What? Am I going to start off with some? So this is how you do it, guy. Look, this is how you don't do it. Luis will be on in 20 minutes to show you how you do it. Okay. So everybody throw things at me, set myself up, you know, and you know. So oh my god, yeah. So at the time I was playing with the Happy Mondays, and they were quite. They had a bit of a following. We just finished the tour, and I think I exhausted all their backing tracks just playing along with half an hour of Happy Mondays, whether they liked it or not, you know. And then Luis come on, and I had the best seat in the house every night. But the thing is what I've not told you, Matty, is Luis had a problem with every single hotel room that we stayed in. It's fantastic. Yeah. It was fantastic.
Do you want to elaborate or?
Well, we got the one I really remember is this one hotel in Bath somewhere.
Yeah, Leamington Spa it was. Leamington Spa. Yeah,
Like, what are we doing here in the first place? And then we get to the hotel, and I go to my room. I call Lee. I go, Lee, you got to come to see this thing, man. I don't think this is gonna work out. The bed was like this. It was like, how am I gonna sleep with this thing? You know, stuff like that.
He actually got on the bed, and I think it collapsed when he got on the bed. And obviously, knowing Luis is not really a heavy person. He's quite a light person, and it's not as if it was like somebody like me jumping on the bed. And then the other thing which happened in another hotel room was the window was broken, and he was freezing cold all night. Was another one, and he couldn't push the window down. It was like, and he got to the stage where I think he thought he was being wound up. Matty, I'll tell you another great story. We were drove around and we were doing it. Yeah, we were doing a gig. We were doing a gig in. It's bearing in mind it's November, so it's near Luis's birthday time, and it's freezing cold. So we're driving to Newcastle to do a gig in Newcastle, and you know, as you can tell, I'm really shy and don't really ask many questions. And Luis and I'm asking Luis about certain sessions he's done. You know, so on this session that you did, and you know, on your album Black Forest, you know, and like, so I'm in the back seat, Luis is here, and Andy's driving, and after about 15 minutes, Andy just turned around to me and he went, "Lee," and I went, "What?" He went, "He's asleep." I've been talking to him all the way down the M6.
Oh man, yeah. Like,
and Luis is there with his Zildjian coat on and his woolly hat, freezing cold, just come from LA or just come on tour with somebody. I think he'd been working with on some music awards, and he'd come. Yeah.
I was in Sweden. Yeah. I come from Sweden from the MTV Awards or something.
Right. Yeah. And you're absolutely freezing cold, and then really tired. Just wanted to, and he was such a nice person, because I would have just said, "Look, will you shut up for a minute?" You know, but he just fell asleep. Amazing. Without earplugs, without any earplugs.
It sounds like you had the best night's sleep of the whole tour in the car, by the sounds of it.
Yeah. In the car, yeah, man. It was a great trip, though, man. It was really unforgettable. I'll never forget it. So glad it happened. And the general, Andy, was fantastic, too.
He was. Andy.
His jokes. You know how it is. I mean, Lee's personality, I mean, we hit it off really good, and it's just great, man.
And how do you feel about clinics? Obviously, it's quite a different thing, isn't it, Luis? You know, you're on your own with tracks or what have you, but how do you feel about them? Do you like them?
Well, I'm not a huge fan of clinics, but if there's a clinic situation like the one that we're talking about, it's great, because I'm not by myself.
Yeah.
When you're touring, you know, out there doing a clinic tour, I did one time, man. I did a 6-week clinic tour with Meinl and through Europe. We went all the way down to Istanbul and all over the place, man. Prague and all this, 6 weeks by myself. I mean, by the end of the thing, I was going nuts.
Yeah,
I'm used to playing with people, you know.
So
it's not really my favorite thing to do, but I do like to. I don't own anything I do. It comes from heaven, in my opinion. So, in my belief, so I just pass it on. I like to pass it on. A good way to pass on your information is if you do a clinic, you know, question and answers and stuff like that. But musically, it's not really that rewarding, you know, because you're playing by yourself and if you're playing to a track, okay, you know, it's the same track.
Yeah.
Over and over, you know.
Doesn't breathe, does it?
Yeah. So that the clinic thing when Lee was around, when we did that one with Lee and Andy driving, those are more enjoyable because, you know, there's a hang, we can play together.
Yeah.
You know, it's more of a thing, you know.
The thing I like about the clinic side is it's a lot of the time there's very little chance for fans of yourselves to actually come up and shake your hand and say, "Wow, you know, nice to meet you." That's the human side of a clinic for me, as well as getting dazzled and getting information. But to actually shake your hand, you know, I like that. I think that's a cool.
And that's you know, that's something come from that side. You know, I'm the one on the stage, so and for me, it's wonderful to meet people like in Newcastle and in Manchester and in Wales and wherever I go. You know, new people. That said, you know, there's a thing about clinics sometimes that I feel, you know, sometimes you go up there and people expect. And I'm not that kind of player. People expect you to play things that are like impossible with this leg and then that leg and then this arm and that arm and look at this and the fastest thing. I'm not that kind of player. Yeah. So sometimes you sort of like, I'm in a circus here, you know, and I got to, you know, the triple trapeze thing. No, I'm just playing music. So but I get through it and I got to play time and do my thing, you know.
Yeah.
But it's great to share information.
You know, Luis says that, but you know, I was lucky enough to go to a clinic of his in London, and it was himself and Egui and Castrillo and Giovanni Hidalgo, and just you three playing together and just talking to the students was amazing, you know.
Yeah.
And that was at a music college, you know, and I was lucky enough to, Luis said to me, I'm going to be in London, so I arranged, I had a gig actually in the evening time in London with Fergus Durand, who were playing, and I came to the daytime thing, and then we got to hang in the morning in the hotel and stuff. But you know, just you doing, even though you're saying that Luis is saying that he's not that kind of a player, you know, nobody has a groove, you know, like Luis, you know. For you know, it's like the thing is about percussionists for me is, you know, as much as I love watching, you know, those the ridiculous technique things, but it's, if you listen to any of Luis's solo albums, there's probably 6 now, maybe 7. I'm not sure. Sorry, Luis, but you know, I listen to those all the time, and it's about, you know, it's about the groove, and it's like listening to the way Steve Gadd plays or Jeff Porcaro would play. You know, that's how Luis approaches percussion for me, and that's really what makes him such a great player.
Yeah, well, that's why you've worked so much with so many amazing artists, isn't it?
So much different musical styles as well.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And I was going to bring that up. That is really important, isn't it? You know, having the different styles, and I know you both have this. You know, you need to be versatile, don't you? It's as simple as that. You know, for anyone who's thinking of taking up percussion, which, you know, and it's an amazing thing when you see it. It's. I know you play kit as well, Lee, but when you, it's such a visual thing when you watch percussion.
Let me tell you, there's a great clip on YouTube of Luis playing kit. Luis will be able to, and Luis plays like a demon on that. I love that. I don't know who you're playing with, Luis, but it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's the thing I did with, it was a keyboard player and Alfonso Johnson on bass.
Yeah, that's right. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a thing. My friend David Witham is a keyboard player who I work with. He used to play with me in my band, etc. But we used to play together on a bunch of gigs. And he was doing one of these, you know, neighborhood, you know, local TV shows, stations, things, internet thing. Says, hey man, I do this music thing. So you want to come down and play? I went, sure. So I went down there and I brought some congas and said, no, man, you got to play drums. You go,
fantastic.
Well, I don't really play drums, but yeah, let's go, man.
No, it sounds great.
Yeah.
Drummers need to check, and percussionists who haven't seen that need to check that out.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
It was pretty good, yeah. But I don't really work much as a drummer. But there's a funny thing as I think Lee knows about this one, about me playing drums with Phil.
Yeah.
No. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Well, so back in 1990, I think it was 96, I think it was. You know, Phil said, hey, I'm doing a big band.
Yeah.
Because my dream is, you know, to have a big band like Buddy Rich. That's his favorite. He's always said Buddy Rich is his idol, etc. Okay, so, you know, come out here and we're going to rehearse, you know, these dates. You want to come do it? I go, yeah, okay. So I go out there, and first day of rehearsal goes fine. Second day of rehearsal goes fine. Third day comes by, he goes, hey, did you get that? This is the cassette days. Did you get that cassette from Steve? I go, no, what cassette? He said, well, you know, he's got, he'll give them to you. You know, it's 3 songs that you got to play drums on. I went, what? Yeah, well, you know, I'm going to do the show. It's all instrumental. I'm playing, but, you know, the people are going to be at the concert. They're going to want to see me play. Not that I want to do it. I just want to play the drums, but people want to see me sing. So on the encore, I'll have to come out and at least do a couple songs. So there's 3 tunes we're going to do. We can rehearse. Go. Well, you know, you think you should maybe ask me if I play drums before I came all the way out here, man? Because I only played at a wedding. You know, I got to set up drums at home just to mess around with it, but that's it. He goes, oh, but Phil is a really focused kind of guy. He's a great cat, man, and he's just one of these guys. He's like, there was no doubt. He says, listen, what do you want to do? Call Chester out here, and then he's right-handed, so we're gonna have 2 sets of drums. We'll have to just send it for the encore. Have, you know, you're left-handed. You're gonna play the drums. That's it. I said, okay.
That's just brilliant.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that was my big gig debut on the drum set was at Royal Albert Hall with Phil Collins' big band. The the musical director conducting was Quincy Jones.
Oh, no pressure.
There's no pressure.
Yeah.
One in the audience was President Mandela and Princess Di. One of the songs that I had to play. One of the songs I had to play was a duet with Phil and Tony Bennett.
Oh, my idol, Tony Bennett. Wow.
Yeah, and then after all of that, hey, Luis, don't worry, no pressure, man, because it's only being broadcasted on the BBC live. Don't worry about it. It's all fine. That's my first gig with drums.
And I bet it was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course it was.
Oh, it was cool. It went fine. It went fine. Yeah, I did it. and then I got really into it, man. I was starting to like, hey, Phil, go out there and listen to see what it sounds like. So I'll be playing, the stuff he's playing. And a couple times, one time he came over at sound check. He was going to play the drums, and I got up and says, "You're really getting into this, aren't you? You're really digging it, huh?" Yeah, I'm thinking of taking your gig, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to buy some congas? Not selling it all.
Yeah. Here's some congas for you, Phil.
Yeah. Luis, can you stop playing Rosanna over everything, though?
Oh, dear. Beautiful. That's incredible. What a...
Yeah. So there you go. Now you know something about Luis you didn't know straight away.
No, I had no idea. I mean, I know. Obviously, Lee, you started on, and that's what I was going to ask. Is it harder? I mean, obviously, cultural differences between the two of you are quite. Obviously, your backgrounds are very, very different.
Yeah.
Luis, I have an sort of an idea in my head that. In Cuba, you just expected to play percussion almost, and in Manchester, it's kind of an oddity. I mean, and I mean that respectfully. It's like
yeah.
Percussion? What do you mean? Is it harder going from drums into percussion, or is it easier the way around you did it, Luis? What's the common thoughts on this?
Oh, gee, I don't know, man. I mean. The thing with percussion and hand percussion, I mean, you used to get into percussion, you have to first you have to be study the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You have to be a geographer or an anthropologist or something, man. Because, it's not just you go to the Caribbean and you get the congas and the timbal, and then you got to go to Brazil. And then you start seeing all the other countries just in Latin America, like Venezuela has a completely different kind of a thing. Colombia, there's a film I'm going to be working on at the end of the month, God willing, it's called Encanto, which means enchantment in Spanish, but it's a Disney movie, big Disney thing. It's the big movie for this year. And they already called it, said they're talking about Colombian percussion. So I'm looking at YouTube at things in Colombian, and we're researching. There's a couple of guys here in town that are going to come and play with me and Alex Acuna. It'll be 4 of us.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, you have to, so then you go there and then you go to India. Now, we got the tabla. Oh my God. And then you go to, the Middle East and you got the frame drums. So it's like, I would think, the drum set, not to, it's very difficult and, you got to study it. But man, the percussion thing is you can go the whole rest of your life looking for.
So you're literally learning every day. You never get to the stage where, I can do that. I know that. There's always something new to find.
Yeah. Basically, a new instrument, a new thing.
Yes.
I think a lot of the when I was the way it worked for me was I was playing kit on quite a few gigs around Manchester, and I wasn't really getting any calls to play any sort of jazz gigs on kit because I'm not really that kind of a player. I'm more of I was always trying to emulate, Luis Conte, Jeff Porcaro, who I've spoken to Luis about. Jeff Porcaro was really my idol, and still is really. And it's really weird the way I sort of learned, got to know different artists in the 80s and 70s, late 70s, through listening to all my favourite records. It didn't matter who. It was not really by an artist who I wouldn't usually listen to, but they all seemed to have the same drummers on. They either had Jeff Porcaro on, or they had JR on, JR Robinson, or they had Steve Gadd on. And these, those. So that's what I was really, really into, just groove playing, because that's. And then with me having lots of friends who were drummers, and through working in the music store, I became really good friends with lots of drummers, and out of town as well in London. And I just got a gig playing percussion in residency in a nightclub in Manchester. And it happened totally by chance. I was only supposed to be there for 2 weeks to fill in for a singer. They depped a percussionist instead of a singer. And I was there 7 years.
It wasn't the Ritz by any chance, was it?
It was the Ritz.
Was it the Ritz?
Playing with Kev Whitehead.
Wow, nice, yeah.
Yeah, Kev is a good friend and a great drummer, you know. And he said, "Will you come and play some congas?" And I was playing a bit of congas, a bit of tambourine, some shakers, and I was there 7 years playing the highest chart climber every week for 7 years,
Wow.
every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and that was such a good grounding, good schooling for me. And then a lot of drummers, because I had a mindset of the drum kit players. I didn't sort of get in the way of the way they played, and it was like a relationship. And a lot of drummers liked the way I played with them because I didn't get in the way. I didn't cover every note possible, you know.
And were you schooled at all in percussion? Because or was it just something you?
I've learned nearly everything from probably a couple of people. The percussionists I've listened to and carry on listening to, and I could turn the camera around and show you probably nearly 25 boxes full of CDs and DVDs. It's the guy that's on the interview with us right now.
That's like
I mean, you know, there's other people I've been lucky enough to meet, like through Luis, like Lenny Castro.
Oh, wow.
And he was a lovely guy, great player, and I've been lucky enough to meet Alex through Luis. You know, it's all really through Luis, really. And then but really, you know, he's really he's the guy. Really, is the reason why I do what I do. And then the studio percussionist was just such an amazing playground and knowledge. There's a couple of DVDs that we grew up with in our era, and it was really Ayato Moreira's. I think it's called Colors of Percussion. There was that DVD, and then there was, and then Luis's studio percussionist, because you know there's people like great players who are coming out doing congero, doing great technique videos, but Luis covered such a vast amount of different instruments and world instruments, and gave his approach in the studio to playing the same song, only with different approaches, 3 different kinds of approach. And it was just so, you know, I've got that DVD, I think, probably 5 times in case one breaks.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Okay,
so,
man.
you know,
that's cool.
yeah.
That's
yeah.
wonderful. Well, that's
So,
the thing.
yeah.
The thing on that video, you know, I mean, it's not everything is like.
No, it's not. No, yeah, it's great.
not. I mean, hey, if we all start talking, just doing this Zoom thing, if we all start talking at the same time,
Yeah,
we'll have nothing.
Yeah, it's a good point.
That's just basically it. That's how you have to play music, whether you're playing drums or guitar or bass or you know.
Yeah.
I mean, a perfect example. I played a gig with my band. I have a couple of different bands. The one that I've been playing lately with is like a straight up Afro-Cuban, old school, like Israel Lubas Cachao style jam session thing, man. It's really fun. And it's like just 6-piece band with a real beautiful instrumentation. And, you know, the last set, you know, as a bunch of guys come over. So, you know, let the guys come in and sit in, you know. So some guys get in and, you know, guy plays nice and another guy sits down on the congas and you give him a solo. And after the solo, now we go back to the song. But, man, every couple of bars I'm hearing a riff from the congas. It's like, hey, I kind of got to go, hey, the solo's over, right? I mean, let's just we're grooving, man. So
yeah.
But my upbringing is a little different, a lot different, and you're gonna be surprised when I tell you this. Than Lee, because he started playing the drums and all of that.
Yeah.
My thing is percussion. Oh, well, this is what you do.
Yeah.
You know, I have a picture of myself when I'm 6 years old with a little conga.
Yeah.
You know, because I would go over when the guys were playing rumba in the corner. I didn't want to play with my tricycle. I wanted my dad to take me over there, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just I just thought this is what you do, and I had maracas and bongos, and it's my grandmother's fault. Every time she came from Havana to visit, she'd bring me an instrument and said, "This kid likes to play," and she'd bring me bongos and guidos. But what I wanted was a guitar.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And when I heard an Elvis record that my sister had, "Don't Be Cruel," and it's the 45s, "Don't Be Cruel" and "Hound Dog," I was like, "What is that?" And I found rock and roll, and then the Beatles showed up.
Wow.
That was it. Mm-hmm. Being in Cuba, and all I wanted to do was play guitar, play Beatles songs, and I was not paying any attention to the percussion.
Were you allowed to listen to that music though? At that point, was that
not really? No. But there were ways. Yeah, it was this communist country, so we were considered imperialists if we got caught. So, but there were ways. We found certain ways. I mean, we didn't have the first record that I actually physically saw was already. It was A Hard Day's Night.
Okay, right.
That's already past a few records.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how hard it was to get Beatle music. It was the first physical vinyl album I saw. A friend of mine, I don't know how he had found it, and he called me, and we all went to his house, and we all went. He had this little record player, and we all went in the bathroom of his house because it was the one that was farthest away that anybody could hear. And we just sat in the bathroom and listened to A Hard Day's Night over and over and over and over all day. Oh. And his mom would go, "Hey, you guys let's come and get some food, Okay. And we'll go back and listen again." That's how it was. It was really a bad scene back then. And there was a show also on the Voice of America. We found out that it was called, and it was in Spanish, called Ritmo. At the time it was 1964, 65. Ritmo 65, Ritmo 66, which is 65 or 66, and Ritmo 67. And they would, it was on shortwave. My dad had a great German shortwave radio. And again, we would go into this bedroom, and my friends would come over, and it was a half-hour show on Saturday night at 7 o'clock. We turned that thing on, and we'd play like, well, right now is, this is going on, the Stones or whatever, that's just to know what was going on. Totally detached from the world.
Wow.
So sometimes that need of liking something and not being able to reach it or grab it, sometimes it creates something even heavier in you to want to do it. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. It's like it's such a big deal, Of
course.
Yeah.
I mean, music is, any youngsters growing up today, everything is there at your fingertips. You don't need to leave the house. It's
right. You do.
And if you've constantly got a plate full of food, you're not going to be that hungry, are you? Do you know what I mean? And that's the way I see it.
Right. And us, we're older guys. We grew up. We didn't have YouTube. Lee didn't have YouTube to watch Jeff Porcaro play when you first started playing.
No, I didn't. No, not so.
And if I wanted to see, Miles Davis, or I wanted to see, whatever, somebody, Mongo or Giovanni, well, they're over there. I'm in Cuba,
Yeah.
So it's a different thing. It's a different thing.
Very different. I mean, it's an incredible story, that, isn't it? I mean, for you, Lee, did you? Obviously, I guess I don't know how old you are, but I'm 48 next month or 2 months' time, and when I was growing up, it was kind of. I remember the Tube, sort of things like that, and Top of the Pops. Obviously, never had much interest in that, I'll be honest. So I guess it was a similar thing for you, was it?
I think. Yeah, I think we were. I was talking actually to another musician about this, where I was on the gig in Manchester. I was saying that really, I think I was blessed to be able to come home on a Friday after school and watch the Tube, and that's where I got to see the great drummers really in the UK. Drummer Tony Beard.
Yes,
and I remember watching Go West and the band Go West and. Tony Beard is just such an incredible drummer. On that, I think that was like back in '85, I believe, and I was lucky enough to meet him when he was over here on tour with Francis Dunnery, and he's another guy. he's another guy I went up to with an old rhythm magazine from 1985 and asked him to sign it, you know, and he was like, "Why are you asking me to sign this?" You know, it's like, you know, he couldn't get over the idea that I kept it in such good nick and it meant that much to me. I said, "Well, your performance on the tube, I've always, you know," and I was really lucky because I got to know through doing a few things for the BBC. I got to know a couple of the engineers at the BBC in Manchester, and there was a BBC live recording of Go West at the Hammersmith of that tour, and they copied it for me illegally. I'm not supposed to tell them that, but I think they copied it for me in the archives, and yeah, I've still got that CD.
Amazing, just
yeah. I mean, another drummer on that as well was blew everybody away. Was a guy, I don't know whatever happened to him. A guy called Armand Grimaldi.
Oh, Armand Grimaldi, man!
Yeah,
I played with him.
Wow, really? I never knew that, Luis. And Armand was playing with Shaka Khan and Jimmy Haslip on bass.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, and I played a little bit with Shaka with him, but you remember Caldera? You know that band, right?
Yeah.
Caldera, Caldera.
Yeah.
It was like at the beginning what they called fusion bands. It was like was it Oracle, Spiral Gyra, Caldera. There was about 3 or 4 bands. This was in the 70s, and I had recorded with them, et cetera, and then they said, "Hey, man, we're gonna do a little tour." And they laid Carlos Vega had done the records, but he was too busy, and he said, "No, I'm not gonna."
Yeah.
And so then they got this guy Armand Grimaldi.
Wow.
Who I had never met, and he played great.
Yeah.
And he came in, and we actually went around the States. I forget how many gigs we did. It wasn't a very long tour with Caldera, and it was Armand. Yeah. And then I did a few things that he was playing with Shaka on something. Yeah, I never saw him again. I don't know what happened to him.
I heard from our friend Jerome DeRick, from our great friend he asked Jimmy Haslip, and who obviously you played on all Jimmy's albums as well. And he said he'd gone into law. He'd give up drumming and gone into law and lives in Washington.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
And lives in Washington. So yeah.
He got smart.
Not so good for him. He could have been on. We could have been on a 4-way interview today if he'd still be doing it.
We could have been.
Yeah.
Well, you know that joke about a bus full of lawyers, good news and bad news. Bus full of lawyers goes over an embankment. Everybody dies. That's the good news. Bad news, one empty seat. Just kidding. Okay.
Hey, look, at least he's worked for the last 18 months or so, hasn't he?
Yeah, right. Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
Shit.
So, hey, speaking of that, joking aside, I mean, anybody in the arts, in your guys' line of business, it's been a challenging time. Have you both managed to keep busy through it? I know there's a lot of remote stuff going on these days. Well, as you know, we're talking now from different parts of the world.
Yeah. Well, what kind of saved me is I have my room in my house. I have a studio. It's like 500 square feet. It's good size, and I got all my stuff there. And I got set up way before this pandemic thing. I was already doing, because what's happening in LA is where I live. Is people are now almost. This is before the pandemic. They were starting to almost expecting you that you have a place to record. Budgets are less. They don't want to pay for cartage. They don't want to pay for the studio. When I first started doing the sessions, I was charged studio time, and now you don't even charge studio time anymore because it's like. But I had this room set up already, and the pandemic came in. That's kind of what saved. We were able to get through the whole thing because I kept recording, not a lot, not like it was before, but doing enough, and I was blessed to hook up a couple of Christian writers, man, that were writing Christian music. I wrote a lot of tunes. Almost every week I'd have a couple of songs from them, and things like that. So it kind of helped me to survive, but I didn't play with anybody except for one gig I did with my little Cuban band at the Baked Potato with just with the cameras, no audience, that was in May 2020. From March 6th until recently, I didn't play with anybody.
That's tough, isn't it? That's tough.
Oh man, no, you know, yeah. I mean, I remember I sold Miguel Leon, is this young kid that plays around town. I sold him a couple of instruments, and he came to pick it up, you know, from a distance. You know, my wife's very compromised with this thing, so we're being really careful with the virus thing. So, you know, came over, we'll just go to the garage, but Miguel was there, and it's like, there's a couple of drums, and it was like, oh, let's go, man, you know. It's like food.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
And how's it affected you, Lee? I know I know we're friends on Facebook, and I see you've been doing, you know, bits and pieces that you've put up. You keep going?
Yeah, I mean, really, I got bailed out really by my lovely other half, Tina, because obviously she works a bit like Steve Barney's, I think, other half works at the NHS.
He does.
And you know, Tina carried on really working, and I didn't really do very much really for quite some time. And then a few things started coming in, doing a few TV things, just soundtracks, soundtrack things, which I could luckily record at my rehearsal room. Yeah. And I've got an engineer there who's got really good mics, who can come into the studio, and because I've got sort of a facility to record at home, at my rehearsal room, but I think the problem is that I have is really good quality mics. When I listen back to when my friend records it, he's sort of got really good, you know, old microphones and really good quality ones. And sometimes, as much as it's trial and error trying to do it yourself, really when you're on a clock and somebody's waiting for a track back. So I got a few people contacted me and asked me if I'd do a few things, and I think I sent one to Luis to hear actually, which was like a gangster sort of fight thing, and
that's the thing you sent me.
Yeah. So I was, and that was really just I did a few things for that, and then I did another couple of other things for Netflix.
Cool.
And now, you know, I'll be honest with you, I do lots of gigs in a club here in Manchester called Revolution de Cuba, and I'm very lucky that the guy who puts the gigs on there has really helped me, and it gives me quite a few gigs up to Christmas there. So even if I'm not on the gigs, I'm sort of booking other people, and there's not enough musicians at the moment, because I mean, long may continue, but at the moment the work seems to be coming back thick and fast, you know. So
okay.
So it's I mean, I know it's been really tough in the States, and obviously different. You know, I speak to Pete Corpia quite a bit and stuff like that, and I know that, you know, a lot of people have not had that much work as well. You know, it's been really tough, and it's been
it's tough. It's tough for everybody, man. I mean, everybody's it's different, you know. But things are what's happening now. I've found, because all of a sudden, like, thanking God, man. The week before last, I had a week like a normal week when not just a normal week, like when the stuff was like busy before Napster and all that shit.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, 4 days of triples and a thing, and then a live gig and then they off, and then another, you know.
Great.
And what's happening is, it was I was working with a band called the Goo Goo Dolls.
Oh yeah.
It's a rock band, and they were doing a record. So I'm in there, and Richie Zambora is in the next room doing his record, and he comes in, and I'm starting to wonder, well, how come this? Because I'm starting to get. I just did a Joe Walsh thing, and Michael Bublé is doing a record, and all these people are doing records. All of a sudden, all this stuff is happening, and Zambora comes in and he goes, "Yeah, man, you know, this year, even the pandemic was like a drag, but in a way, man, I got into the piano, I've been writing, and I'm doing a record." Joe Walsh told me the same thing. The group of those guys told me the same thing. Michael Bublé says, "Yeah, I've been writing some tunes and putting things together because I'm not going to tour till 2022, so it's time to record." You know,
people haven't wasted the time, have they?
It seems like a lot of artists haven't wasted their time, and they've been working on stuff, so now they want to, you know.
It's way too easy to sit in front of Netflix and just wait away.
Yeah.
But can you imagine if this pandemic had been 20 years ago? There'd have been no remote recording. There'd have been no Zoom. We'd have been isolated well and truly.
I don't know how we could have made that. I have no idea. Man, there were days. I mean, anybody tell you, I had some bad days, man. I had some days where it was like, I go in the room where there's no work or nothing, and I go in my studio, and it's like, okay, I'm going to go play a little bit, and I sit behind the drums, man, and behind whatever drum I'm going to play, and I go, I'm like, and go back out there, some really rough days, man, because and then I had like some Instagram live thing that somebody wanted to do or whatever. And then you do that and you felt better and you go like, well, and I realized, man, thank God for the internet and all this social stuff. Otherwise, just totally isolated. It would have been horrible.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah, you told me about that actually, Luis, that, I mean, for as much as you've got it doesn't make any difference what beautiful drums you've got, in front of you, or if the mindset's not right for that. I mean, of course, when you've got other things going on in your life as well, where it's about people being around you and making sure they're well, and and when you're at home all the time, you can't do any gigs. Everything changes. Your life pattern, your sleeping pattern, everything.
Everything goes off.
And the inspiration stops for a bit, and then I just put on Cuban Dreams and then start playing again,
Yeah, well, that's what we got to do, man.
But I have to say, similar thing. I started doing these back in March last year, and these speaking to industry professionals like yourself, this has kept me inspired, has kept me motivated, and the thing is, I can't stop now. That's the problem. It's kind of on a roll. It's popular, and I think, well, I'll just keep going till everyone is fully flat out in work and nobody can. Yeah. Well, then we'll keep going.
Yeah. Keep doing it, man. Keep doing it. Thank you.
Definitely.
Before we go, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you're both busy. There's a question, and it's always been in the back of my mind. I asked Rani Krieger the same thing, and I always wonder, as a percussionist, obviously you get to play with lots of different drummers. Do you have to change your style drastically, when drummers vary? Like, for example, Luis, if you're with James Taylor, do you have to adapt your playing to suit Steve, or is that a thing? I don't know.
I think the answer to that is I have to adapt my playing to the music.
Yeah, okay.
It's not the drummer.
Right.
I mean, of course, I mean, if you're talking great drummers, guys that are super musical, if you talk Steve or the late Jeff or, John Robinson, et cetera, et cetera. Those guys are very musical. So you're basically adapting to the music. We play with James and it's more of a mellow thing and it's a lot of brush and, so it's just a different style. It's the music that makes you do that. But you do have to change sometimes depending on what drummer. If it's a drummer that's not so musical and you're on the gig and, we don't want to fight with each other. So I just like to stand back. This guy's super busy. Okay, I'll just stand back here and play quarter notes on a cowbell, whatever you want, as long as it works. Checks in the mail. Thank you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
It's as simple as that, really. Then
as simple as that, But it's mostly the music. I think it's not the drummer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because I always think if you get a drummer who's just all over the place, just fill after fill, it's disrespectful to the percussionist as well, isn't it? Not giving you any space to do your thing, and
disrespectful to everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
To everybody in the band. I mean, there's a singer out there, singing.
Yeah. It's that's the drummer and singer relationship sort of out the window, that one though, isn't it? I think exactly the same. Totally second what Luis has said. That I think it's about if the music calls for a drummer to be playing like that all the time, the chances are that probably a percussionist isn't going to get a call to do a session on that anyway, because it's going to be. Having said that, recently I've only last week I got a call. Myself and another percussionist got a call to go into a studio here in Manchester. I went into the studio, and when we got in there, they played us the track, and it was just an eight bar piece in the middle eight of this, and it was metal.
Oh right,
the music was metal.
Oh boy.
And what they wanted an intro. They wanted two percussionists to play on the intro, bringing the album in, and then the on the fifth track there was just a middle eight where we had to follow the guitar part, and then build on it. And it was just something as a percussionist where it was amazing because you have to think outside the box.
Yeah.
The drummer who was only a young guy. He's just come out of music college, great player, and sometimes being a bit too over the top, but it sounded great in the mix, and it was just about really playing, thinking outside the box for us. I ended up playing a Berenbow on it, and a hubcap with a spring on it that I stole the idea off Luis.
Which one?
The hubcap with the spring on it.
Oh, that thing,
yeah. The Steve Foreman thing.
Yeah, the Steve Foreman original.
Yeah. So I played one of those on the track, and it worked great.
Do you know Steve used to call that a Mazda phone? That's actually
right.
A Mazda phone. I go, why you call it a Mazda phone? So because it's a Mazda hubcap. Oh, okay. Well, I got a Chevy. Can I call mine a Chevy phone?
Yeah. Well, mine's off a vintage Mini, British Mini.
Yeah, see? What the heck? Yeah, it'll work. It worked.
Yeah.
Hey, Matty, I thought of something about answering the thing about the drummer. You play different with the drummer. To answer that again, it's like I said, it's the music is what's telling me more than what the drummer is. When you're playing with guys like I usually play, thank God, they're the great players and great musicians. They're doing the same thing. They're playing the drums to the music.
Yeah.
So we're both doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's how you are.
That's perfect at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you know what? I mean, we've been an hour and it's gone by so quickly, which I always think is the mark of a good conversation. It's meandered nicely, and what a treat for me to be amongst guys like yourself talking about what you do so incredibly well, bringing joy to to ears all over the world. Obviously, between you've played with some of the biggest names in show business, and long may it continue, I say. And I have to say thank you very much to you both for taking the time to do this. Really appreciate it.
No, it's my pleasure.
My pleasure too. One of my happiest moments watching TV is watching the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. It's in London, right?
Yeah. The closing ceremony. Yeah.
Or the closing ceremony, whatever it was. And I'm sitting there with my wife. Okay, let's watch the ceremonies. And here starts this tune, and it's like, it's, oh man, that sounds good. And it's Lee.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Must have been a thrill for you to see that, Luis.
Oh yeah, man. So thank you for bringing us together, man, because this is really beautiful. Man.
Well, you know what? It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm sure everyone's going to enjoy this. And if there's any young girls, guys who are keen to start off on a percussion journey, they may be drummers already. I don't know. Any advice from you both? What's the best advice you can give them?
Lee?
For me personally, is listen to all styles of music. Never be blinkered. Listen to all styles, and if you are going to go down the percussion path, a bit like what Luis said before, you're always going to be a pupil. There's so much. Know the culture of the instrument, respect the instrument, respect the culture, know where it come from, and you're in for a long ride. But I mean, it's been amazing for me. I'll be really honest. If I cut the music business tomorrow, it if something happened and I didn't do it anymore, you know, it's just through dreams do come true, and you get to meet your peers, and you're very lucky that you end up being their friends if they're nice people, you know, and I'm living proof of that, you know. And I was just lucky to do the Olympics thing because, and also because going back to the Olympics thing very quickly was because me and Danny Cummings, who's another, he was amazing percussionist all round, and one of the guys I used to listen to from the UK all the time in the 80s. Him and Luis, obviously. Those were the guys, and I'm very lucky to call Danny a friend as well, and I was lucky enough to do that with Danny, you know, Danny Cummings on that amazing day at the Olympics. And I'm so glad and blessed that Luis and Lupe got to see it, because I didn't get to see it until probably a week after when I saw it. That when Tina had videoed it.
Yeah, so, we videoed it, man. We videoed it. You know.
Yeah.
Well, you know, everything Lee says is exactly what you got to do. You got to study, man. You got to pay attention, research, because like I said before, there's a lot of instruments.
Yeah.
You got a lot of things. So, and there's things that you may not like, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you don't like, hey, look, like I'm not a particularly super fan of playing marimba and vibes, and I can barely play it. Why? Because I didn't like it. You know, so I mean, you know, don't force yourself to follow your heart, But the other thing, on top of the musical stuff that has just been spoken about, people skills, man. You gotta have people skills, because otherwise you're not gonna work.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to be a musician, you want to work at a supermarket and then play for a hobby. Okay, you know, you have to have people skills in every job, and this is very important. And it doesn't matter how great. I've seen some great players come into a gig, and the first week of rehearsal and the second week of rehearsals, where is he? Oh no, they sent him home. Why? Well, you know, he wasn't getting along with anybody.
Yeah. It's a major thing, isn't it? It's a major thing.
Yeah.
It's a very important thing. You know, you go on the road. I mean, think of this. Okay, so you practice, you learn your stuff. I'm a percussionist, I'm a drummer, man. I got it down. Oh, man, I got a great gig. Cool. Name anybody, whatever. The biggest thing right now. Okay, I'm going to go on tour with them. Fantastic. And you go out there, but you don't get along with anybody. You don't have any, you know, you're late. You get drunk and you're like, just, well, whatever, you know, you're just doing stupid shit, you know. You're not going to be around. People will hate you. And he gets around.
Yeah. Sure.
So it's not like everybody hears about this, you know. So it's very important.
Yeah,
man.
That sounds like amazing advice, and I think that's a good place to end this. Look, Luis, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. It really has, and thank you for both of you for giving up your time so generously. It's appreciated.
No problem at all. Thank you. Been real honour. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Very much. Thanks, gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Bye, Matty.